morning and welcome back to the deep dive. This is for April 12th and 13th.
Morning. Lots happening, it seems.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit to cover today. We're casting a pretty wide net, actually.
Right, across a few different TCGs.
Exactly. Pokemon, Lorcana, Magic, One Piece, even checking in on MetaZoo.
Okay, comprehensive.
And of course, we're always looking forward to listener comments, questions down below. That feedback really helps.
Definitely. So where are we starting?
Let's kick things off with Pokemon. There's been, I guess, some chatter recently.
About the market.
Yeah, this idea that maybe the Pokemon market has peaked, that we're seeing, a retracement or a cool down starting. What's your take?
Well, the first thing is you always have to ask if that feeling, that chatter, actually lines up with the data.
Right. Sentiment versus numbers.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, but the data often tells, well, a different story.
Okay, so we looked at some analysis focusing on the Scarlet and Violet era, SVO 1 through 6. And the core argument against this peak idea really focuses on those early sets. SVO 1, 2, 3, and 4.
The benchmarks, basically.
Yeah.
They're kind of the bellwether, aren't they?
They really are. If they're solid, it suggests the foundation is still pretty strong.
So what's the analysis saying about them?
It indicates they're still right at or very near their all-time highs. We're talking like within 10%.
Okay, so basically holding steady.
Yeah, and in a market like this, that kind of movement, it's often just, normal noise, not necessarily a big shift.
Right, not a crash signal. It makes you wonder if the peak talk might be a bit premature.
That's what it feels like. It really highlights the need for perspective, doesn't it?
Totally. If you're just watching the daily price swings or even weekly,
You can get the wrong idea.
yeah, you miss the bigger trend, like focusing on the waves, not the tide.
Good analogy. And the analysis also looked at the newer stuff too. Paradox Rift, Twilight Masquerade. Same story, basically. No real evidence of a broad market crash, like some people are suggesting. They seem to be holding their own.
It makes you think about who's pushing that peaked narrative sometimes.
How so?
Well, sometimes a really strong reaction to short-term dips just shows maybe a lack of experience with how these collectible markets actually move. They ebb and flow.
That's a fair point. Actually, the analyst we looked at, they even hazarded a guess about long-term investors in Pokemon.
Oh yeah, what percentage?
Less than 5%. That was the estimate.
Wow, that's really low.
It is. And it makes you think about what people say versus what they do.
Like everyone says they have diamond hands.
Until there's a slight dip, then suddenly, maybe not so much.
It happens all the time. So, okay, moving away from Scarlet and Violet for a sec. Sword and Shield.
Yeah, let's shift gears to Sword and Shield booster doxes. We've been tracking this, and there's definitely movement.
We had that prediction for a while now about a minimum value.
Right. The long-held idea was basically any Sword and Shield box should eventually hit a floor of like $500 minimum.
And that was the baseline.
Exactly. Now the thinking is shifting upwards. For the better boxes, the target is moving towards $1,000, maybe even more.
Okay, and which ones fall into that bitter category? Like Chilling Rain.
Yeah.
Brilliant Stars.
Yeah, those are good examples. Chilling Rain, Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest. Those are the ones people see potentially climbing past $1,000.
Then you have the monster. Evolving Skies.
Right. The best in class. That prediction hasn't really changed. Still thinking $2,000 to $5,000 range.
Yeah, the demand for those Eeveelution alt arts just doesn't quit. It's incredible.
It really is. But it's not just the top dogs. Even the sets that were maybe seen as weaker initially.
Well, battle styles. Vivid Voltage.
Yeah, battle styles. Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze. The expectation is still that they should settle around that $500 mark eventually.
Okay.
And then you've got sets like Lost Origin, with that amazing Giratina alt art.
Oh yeah, beautiful card.
That one's seen as having higher potential, maybe $1,500 to $2,000. And yeah, Evolving Skies, reaffirming that $3,000, $5,000 potential still feels very possible.
So that's the longer term outlook. What's the current data showing? Like what are prices doing right now on TCG Play?
All right, let's look at some numbers from around early April, maybe factoring in some recent shifts. Revel Clash. Total listed value was around $473.
And just to clarify, total listed value is...
Right, good point. It's basically the sum of the prices of all the individual cards from that set listed for sale on a big marketplace. It gives you a rough idea of the set's perceived card value.
Gotcha. Okay, $473 for Revel Clash.
Then, Sword and Shield base, kind of surprising. Total listed value is higher, around $706.
Even though it's considered kinda? meh.
Yeah, it's seen as a terrible set pull-wise.
Right.
But the sealed boxes are just much harder to find now. Low availability.
Scarcity driving value. Makes sense.
Totally. Then battle styles. Lower total listed value, but the box price really jumped. It went from like 151 tall to $227 pretty quickly. Plus, it does have that Tyranitar V alt art, right? That's like a $200 card.
True. So even with a high print run initially.
Boxes are getting open, supply is tightening, and the price goes up. Decent sell-through, too.
Interesting. So chase cards plus shrinking sealed supply equals price increase.
Pretty much. Darkness Ablaze, similar story. Lower total listed value, slight bump in the box price.
Okay.
Chilling Rain also had a lower total value listed, but a noticeable box price jump. Went from about $155 up to $234.
All right. So seeing a pattern with some of these mid-tier sets. Now, Evolving Skies.
Okay, Evolving Skies. The data here is loud. Total listed value, also relatively low, maybe surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, but the box price, huge surge from $320 way up to $880. And the pack price jumped too, like $8 up to $22 a pack.
Yikes.
And get this, listed pack inventory was tiny, around 1,000 packs total.
Only 1,000 across the whole platform.
Yeah, and selling fast, 64 packs a day, so that works out to 16 days of inventory left.
16. That is incredibly low. That screams scarcity, high demand, low supply.
Absolutely. That days of inventory number is just wild for Evolving Skies. Strong sign that prices could keep climbing.
No kidding. Okay, what about Fusion Strike?
Fusion Strike was more moderate total value listed. Box price went up 160 to 247 Seltzers. Pack price also up $4.60 to $6.40.
And inventory.
More comfortable. Around 3,500 packs listed, selling about 38 a day, so like 91 days of inventory.
Okay, so steady growth, but not that extreme scarcity pressure like Evolving Skies.
Exactly. Now, Brilliant Stars. A lot of people think this is the best set to be in right now.
Hearing that too. What's the data say?
Box inventory is super low. Only 86 boxes listed.
86.
Yeah. Box price jumped from $287 up near $290. Pack price went from about $5 to $8.
Okay.
Pack inventory also, though, 1,470, selling 31 a day. That gives it about 47 days of inventory. Very low.
Right. So low sealed, solid demand. Yeah, definitely one to watch for more growth.
Moving on, Astral Radiance. Low box inventory, 71. Box price up significantly, $222 to $270. Pack price up, $4.55 to $6.50.
Inventory day.
Pack inventory around 2,200, selling 33 a day. So moderate 67 days of inventory.
Okay.
Lost Origin, also strong. Low box inventory, 151. Big box price jump, $257 to $370. Pack price way up, $6.40 to $9.70.
Wow, almost $10 a pack.
Yeah. Low pack inventory, too, around 2,000. Selling fast, though, 43 a day. So 47 days of inventory, similar to Brilliant Stars.
So Lost Origin, with that Giratina, is really behaving like those other top-tier chase sets. High demand, shrinking supply.
Seems like it. And finally, Silver Tempest. Moderate box inventory, $195. Box price up, $235 to $290. Pack price up, $4.65 to $7.
That was the pack situation.
Moderate inventory, around 2,600 packs, selling about 23 a day. So that gives it a higher days of inventory, around 115.
Okay, so Silver Tempest is more balanced. Enough supply for the current demand, less upward pressure than the others.
That's how it looks. Now, quick word on the special sets, excluding Crown Zenith for a second.
Right, like Champion's Path, Shining Fates.
Yeah, Champion's Path ETBs, price went up from $104 to $130, but pack inventory was low and sell-through was really low. Shining Fates and Celebrations both saw pack price increases. Moderate inventory, but again, low sell-through. Pokemon Go, pack price up, but high inventory, low sell-through.
So it seems like for those special sets, prices are maybe drifting up due to less supply overall, but the demand isn't quite as intense as the main sets.
Yeah.
Except for
Crown Zenith, the big daddy, as some call it.
And deservedly so, I think. Great set.
Totally. Pack price doubled, basically. It went from around $5 to $10.
Oof.
And the listed pack inventory dropped sharply from like 24,000 down to around 11,000.
Wow, more than halved.
Yeah. Still selling fast, though. 103 packs a day. Gives it about 105 days of inventory, which is moderate, but...
But likely to slow down a bit as prices keep rising.
Exactly. That's the expectation. And the booster box price, that also went nuts. From maybe $80, $85 up to $290.
For Crown Zenith, that's a massive jump. Really shows the love for those Galarian Gallery cards.
It really does. Okay, just a couple more Pokemon things quickly. Hearing that the Journey Together build and battle kits are getting scarce at GameStop. And looking ahead, Destined Rivals. Lots of anticipation. People comparing it to Journey together, surging sparks, potential volatility.
But maybe even higher demand.
That's the feeling. Because of the flavor, the lore, Team Rocket.
Ah, the Team Rocket nostalgia factor. That's powerful.
Definitely. There's also still chatter about allocations and print runs. Seems like print runs are generally healthy, but
But the distribution is changing.
yeah, product seems to be going everywhere now. Not just card shops, cabinet stores, gas stations, even heard adult stores mentioned.
Really? Wow.
So it spreads the supply thinner for the traditional LGS, more competition for them.
That's a big shift for how product gets to market. Must be tough for the local shops.
For sure. And we're also seeing, more non-card people jumping in.
Drawn by the hype. Easy flips.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge popularity and the feeling you can just buy sealed stuff and resell it easily.
Happens in hot markets. The money flows in.
Right, but here's the thing. That influx, the weird distribution, it doesn't automatically mean the market's topping out or about to retrace.
Good point. It's just market dynamics.
Exactly. It's like water flowing to the path of least resistance. Money follows perceived opportunity.
Well put. It's just how capital behaves in these situations.
Okay, let's pivot. Magic. The Gathering. What's the vibe there?
Also hearing it's booming, but maybe in a different way than Pokemon.
Yeah, the growth seems really focused on new products, especially collector boosters.
Right. Well, maybe standard play is struggling a bit.
That's the report. Standard having challenges, but older formats, modern, legacy, vintage, seem pretty stable.
Okay.
What's interesting, though, is this repricing happening in Bronze Age Magic, sets from like 2011 to 2019.
Ah, yeah. Things like Eldritch Moon, Battle for Zendikar, Oath of the Gatewatch, Shadows over Innistrad, Kaladesh Block.
Exactly those. They're seeing spikes, like Oath of the Gatewatch, it spiked hard, maybe $1,000, then pulled back,
Pulled back to where?
like $450 range.
Yeah.
Still way higher than it was before the spike. Shows volatility, but also a new, higher baseline.
So a reevaluation of those older, maybe previously overlooked sets is happening. Interesting.
Yeah. And there's also buzz about a potential Secret Master set coming in 2026.
Oh, because we haven't had a Double Masters or Modern Masters type thing
Oh.
recently, right?
Yeah.
Other than Innistrad Remastered.
Exactly. So the market's kind of hungry for a big reprint set like that.
Yeah, those always generate huge excitement. Players and collectors love them.
Definitely. Now let's talk Tales of Middle-earth collector boxes. We saw some recent weirdness there.
Yeah, that price dip. What happened?
Seems like some local game stores listed inventory online, maybe got into a bit of a price war, undercutting each other.
Ah, the race to the bottom online.
Briefly, yeah. Price dipped to around $300.
Wow, that's a deal.
It was, but super temporary.
Yeah.
Like within hours or by the next day, boom, back up to $364 plus tax.
So a quick opportunity for anyone who is watching closely.
Exactly. If you were lucky, you snagged a deal. But the strong advice now is, even at $360 plus thing, maybe still buy them?
Really? Why is that?
The prediction is they'll hit $500 to $1,000 essentially because of the power level, the desirable card.
Like the textured fetches, serialized stuff.
Yeah, the textured fetchland, serialized cards, the famous Dr. Gluten-Free Ujin.
Right.
Plus, seems like distribution might be somewhat limited overall.
Okay, so strong cards, desirable treatments, potentially limited supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the recipe for price growth.
Definitely feels like it. Looking ahead now, Final Fantasy TCG is coming.
Big one. Lots of anticipation.
Yeah, and hearing many LGSs are ordering heavy, which might be risky for them.
How so? High wholesale costs.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Especially the specialty collector box is pushing like $300 wholesale. That's a big outlay for a shop.
Oof. Yeah, that's a gamble. Shows they expect huge demand, though.
It does, but the advice circulating is be careful with super high pre-order prices on those FF collector boxes.
Expect volatility at launch.
Yeah. Thinking maybe a $500, $700 range initially before it potentially stabilizes. Maybe $700, $900 within 6 months or so. Long term could be $1,000 plus, like the Lord of the Rings green boxes. But that depends heavily on the set specifics. Serialized cards. Cool showcase treatments.
Right. Set details will matter a lot for the long-run value. Always smart to be cautious with pre-orders on brand new TCGs or big new sets. Hype can inflate things early.
Totally. And speaking of market reactions, we saw that with the Pokemon Journey Together set too, right?
Yeah, the price pulled back after release.
About 25%. Seems like the public reception just wasn't as strong as for, say, surging sparks.
Shows how sentiment directly impacts price. If the community isn't feeling it, the market adjusts.
Exactly. Which brings us back to the point about emotional reactions.
Right. Don't review bomb stores or attack YouTubers just because prices move.
Please don't. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. Prices find their level.
Gotta stay objective. It's just business, market forces at work.
Well said. Okay, just wrapping up here. On a personal note, sounds like the buying continues. More Charizard UPCs.
Up to 2,000 boxes now, apparently. And more Tales of Middle-earth play boxes, too.
Impressive commitment. And keep an eye out for upcoming Pokemon and Magic sales, sounds like.
Yep. And a quick thank you for the support for Premier Card Grading. Record volumes, which is great to hear.
Awesome. And finally, just a good general reminder, right? Try not to get too swept up in all the market drama or negative news.
Yeah. Focus on enjoying life, the hobby, your interests. Keep perspective.
Exactly. Find that balance. It's just cardboard, after all.
Mostly.
Mostly. Excellent advice, though. It's easy to get lost in the noise.
All right. Well, thank you for staying with us through this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
And don't forget to check out 151Collectables.com for all your TCG needs.